Batman Revolution is a brand new book, came out just a couple weeks ago, October 28th, I think it was. It is the second book in a series that is written by John Jackson Miller that is supposedly supposed to take place in between the events seen in the Tim Burton films, Batman and Batman Returns. I did read the first book in the series, which was called Batman Resurrection. The main villain of that book was Clayface, and I did review that book last year. Meanwhile, this book is all about the Riddler, which is the main thing that interested me to read this book in particular, because Tim Burton is known for his vision, right? Everything that he does is dark, it is gothic, all the characters are pale, right? You think back to the villains of the original movies, you got the Joker, you got the Penguin, both of which are very, very pale. So I was very curious as to what a Tim Burton Riddler might look like. Unfortunately, I feel like ChatGPT, AI, might be the better source to answer that question. You might be able to ask AI, hey, what might a Tim Burton Riddler look like? Because what you get in this book is very clearly the Riddler, but it's really Tim Burton-esque in my opinion. What I found out of the Riddler in this book specifically was really a mix between what we found in the 66 Adam West series and the animated cartoon series, and probably a little bit of the comic books as well. Because the way that it visually describes the Riddler is very much what you expect, with the bowler hat and the question mark suit and the tie and everything. And if you listen to the audiobook version, which is what I did, you already had characters that sounded like the animated cartoon, whether you're talking about Bruce Wayne / Batman to Alfred to the Riddler. They all sound very much like the cartoon. I think certain things about it do feel Tim Burton-esque, especially in the beginning of the book, when we're starting to understand who the Riddler is before he was the Riddler, because in this variation, he was an incredibly humble, good man, and he got by and he was happy with assisting the police in taking down criminals without really ever taking responsibility for it. He just kind of gave them riddles, they figured it out, and they took down the criminals. He has this segment in a newspaper called Riddle Me This under the pseudonym Edward Nygma, and there's a lot about this that feels kind of Tim Burton-esque, or it could be. I could see it as something that Tim Burton might do. He only turns into the Riddler out of necessity because he has a really freaking bad day, and after years of assisting the cops without taking responsibility, he's like, listen, I could use some of that award money to help my sick mom, to do this, to do that. And that's when the cops are like, well, no, really, we're the ones that took down the bad guy. Sometimes Batman took down the bad guy. It's kind of hard to claim your riddles are the things that did it. And this really sets him off, and then he goes off and he joins a militia in the group, and really it's the militia in the group that is kind of the slowest part of the book, and the part that I didn't care so much about. Because at the end of the day, the Riddler doesn't even get to shine very much because he's just part of this militia instead of being the big bad of the book. The nice thing about that is that, yes, you can look at this character and you can care about him and feel bad for him because of everything that he's had to go through throughout his entire life, which makes him kind of a compelling villain. But at the same time, this is a very long book, and never once do we get to see the Riddler really shine as the Riddler, in my opinion. And that's just the thing about the series. It interests me to read about it. It interests me to maybe picture it as a movie that could exist. When it comes right down to it, though, I can't help but admit that parts of the book bored me. I did appreciate the fact that they had Christopher Walken's character of Max Schreck in there, as well as Selena Kyle in there, who will eventually turn out to be Catwoman. I believe that their characters were also seen in the last book, Batman Resurrection, but they are very much more prominent in this book specifically. I really appreciated that. That's the thing that helped the book feel most like Tim Burton, is their character's existence. And there are certain things that Batman might say or Alfred might say that makes me feel like, okay, I could see Tim Burton making the characters say this. But overall, the book is just okay. It's not really a book that I recommend wholeheartedly, unless you're a huge fan of Tim Burton and you're a completist. But again, this might take place in the Tim Burton universe of films, but Tim Burton himself has nothing to do with the book. So take it with a grain of salt, but it is supposed to take place in between Batman 1 and Batman 2. Both books are. If you're curious as to what I rate the book overall, on Goodreads, I rated it 3 out of 5, but the real score would much closer be 3.5 out of 5. Goodreads just doesn't let you do the 0.5. I think it's incredibly average. Never once do I think, oh, I'm going to close the book and never return to it. I think that it's readable. I don't consider it really a page turner. I had to force myself to get through it in a week because I was talking about it on my podcast with my wife. Otherwise, it might have taken me a month to read. I don't know. But what about you guys, though? Have you read these books? Have you read Batman Resurrection and then Batman Revolution? What do you think about it? Are you a fan of this series of books? Do I got it all wrong? Do I have it right? Let me know in the comment section down below. And as for YouTube, you guys know what to do. Hit the like, subscribe button, and bell to be notified when I come out with my next review, whenever and whatever that may be on. And until that day comes, peace out.